There's only one man who would dare give me the raspberry. Lone Star!
You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
You wanna know how I got these scars?
Today, Junior?
It's the Al Travis Show. We've got Representative Natalie Zeleznikar on the program with me, and I'm so happy I'm just getting your name pronounced right. Am I doing it okay?
Good, great.
I know I kept botching it the first couple times around. I love having you on the program. In the green room, as we call it, just forgot it. You asked how I was doing, and I told you this is a good day for me because when I get up, especially on a Monday, and I start reading stories, and my what's up with that hair goes on the back of my head, I know I'm going to have fun today because I get to get this off my chest. Let me throw a couple of things at you, and let's discuss. I don't know if you remember this, but Israel was attacked a little over 2 years ago, 2 years and a couple of days ago. Thousands dead, hundreds taken hostage, including some Americans. And the war started between Israel and Hamas. And that was going on for the better part of 2 years. Since Trump became in office, we've had almost weekly, I'm sure if you look somewhere across the U.S., weekly protests about Donald, get this stop Israel, Israel's killing, you've seen everything, all the protests, every side, everybody wanted this thing done. It got done, Representative. But you know what I don't see? People in the streets saying, thank you for stopping what we asked you to stop. We're in the streets for weeks. We're not. No one is saying that. Why is it in Israel? You see them, 500,000 getting together in Freedom Square, raising the American flag. How were they not serious that they wanted this thing stopped? Was it just anti-Trump that they were doing this for? Why am I not seeing people in the streets saying thank you very much?
Well, I thought it was interesting that a journalist on CNN mentioned the exact same thing. It seemed to her that Trump should be thanked. The president, the sitting president, happens to be Donald J. Trump, and the mention was, isn't it interesting that he hasn't been thanked? And he should be thanked because as Americans, we all want peace. We've wanted peace in this region for longer than 2 years. And to see that happen is a wonderful thing for the United States and a wonderful thing for everybody. And to not have that happen, I think it raises another question of why? And, is this against a person or is this against, what the American spirit is? That we wanted peace. We wanted the war to end. It did. So it's a reason to rejoice.
There's no gimme how long this lasts. I'm not coloring this up, Donald Trump. Who knows in the Middle East? I don't. Right. But it sure seems we've got everything we want right now. The bullets have stopped. The hostages are being returned.
Yes.
So there should be some more here, in my opinion. Another thing, and this is, I don't think, okay. So Donald Trump told the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, that the troops are going to get paid. Figure it out. Take it out of the Pentagon budget until then, because, we're still building Navy ships, whatever. And when I got it, and I was an Army guy, I thought, thank you. Thank you very much. I get it. People are going to yell, well, wait a minute. The guy at the Secretary of State's office that was laid off isn't going to get paid. Yes. Guess what? If you're over in Afghanistan somewhere taking bullets for me, I want you to keep your check coming in. Is that two-faced to me, Representative? I was happy with it.
I don't think so. I was happy to see that we're taking care of our veterans. We're making sure that they are out protecting all of us, that they don't have to worry about the front line of making sure that their bills are paid. And in addition, to my understanding, young mothers and mothers in need that are using WIC programs will be taken care of too. And those are important things. And my hope is that this is going to get settled soon at the federal government. And in the meantime, I got my hands full watching the state government. So,
well, can I ask that inside baseball? How does that work? You all do a balanced budget, right? And it has to balance by somebody in the office of balancing the budget guy. So you lay it all out. You could not have known for 14 days this would stop. You would not have known that there's programs that are being cut because of this. Do you have to go back in, or is it like it was balanced at the moment? Now we know it's unbalanced. We'll fix it in February. Do you have to come back and balance it still?
I think there's some unknowns with that. So I guess it depends on exactly how this plane gets landed,
Okay.
at the federal government. I think we're going to be able to wait till February. I think that
Okay.
the programs will be stabilized until then. But, I guess that's to be determined. But from as I understand it, that would be the case. We would go back. The special session, there hasn't been any talk about special session for the
Yeah.
reason of any federal issues. It hasn't, I haven't
So
heard that out of the governor's mouth. But, we'll see what happens here.
even on that, and there were some programs that were cut and may not get reinstated, yada yada. If this were bad enough in Minnesota, and the governor's come out and said how horrible this is going to be for us because of the president. Okay, can you not just come back in? We have a rainy day fund of like $7 billion or some craziness. Couldn't you just say this is a rainy day? Write the checks. We'll figure it out in February. Or can the governor go into the rainy day fund without your help?
I believe that we would have to probably come in. I think
Okay.
there's some jurisdiction that the governor has, but I'm not an expert on what the amount of money
Okay.
is that he would
Okay.
have to have. But, the reality is we could have had a lot larger of a rainy day fund if we wouldn't have spent $18.5 billion in 5 months in 2023. So, farmers know that you save the crop because sometimes you're not going to get rain for the next season, and it's not going to be a great harvest, or things are the atmosphere is going to change, and it always does. There's times that you have a great harvest and not. So it's unfortunate we didn't save more. That's my
All right.
opinion.
I want to switch it over to state stuff today. Steve Simon came out, and it just dumbfounds me what's going on. I want to talk about that, and if we can, we'll get to the trans in sports, because that comes up, I believe it is today, was the deadline for the state of Minnesota to decide whether we're going to go with Title IX or not. We'll talk about all that with Representative Zeleznikar right here.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc. Midwest Money Management and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
guy that knows a guy, Al Travis.
Love having her on. She's Representative Natalie Zeleznikar, and we're talking all things Minnesota politics now. Representative, I find it weird that Secretary of State Simon doesn't want to give the federal government our voter rolls. What I mean by that, he tells us they're clean, they're wonderful, we take care of them, these are spick and span. But I don't want to give them to the federal government. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how come? Is there information that Minnesota has about Al that the federal government doesn't? They have my name, they have my social security number, they have my birth date. I don't know what Steve Simon could give them that the federal government doesn't already have on me. So the only thing that could possibly be happening is, well, there are other folks that he'd rather not the federal government know about. Am I wrong here? What would the federal government get out of getting my voter rolls?
I don't understand it either, because the voter rolls are tied with the same information or less information than we do with our taxes, that we do in enrollment in college, all kinds of data that we're sharing from the time we're born.
Go get the new Real ID. You got to bring a blood test to make sure you're human. It's a crazy thing.
I mean, you can't, your driver's license, there's so many sections of, we get social security cards generally when we're young. There's a million places that we're having to show our data, filling out credit card applications. People do that all the time, filling out other forms. And so voter rolls are just a basic part of our democracy. And so I personally think, why not? Why not just make sure?
If they're that pretty and Trump people go through them and say, hey, you did a great job. Now you got Trump telling you did a great job. It'd be okay. You got it. Okay.
But there's nothing else to talk about. Like it shouldn't be. I see it as just something that we would want to show that we're doing a fantastic job in
and many checks and balances as possible. Agree. But now this is what comes up today and why I set you up, Representative. So Secretary of State Simon is going together with Alex Padilla, California, Betty, somebody of Ohio. They want to start a thing called the Voter Purge Protection Act. And you got to read up, find out what it is. But basically, you would not be removed from the rolls unless there's evidence you died or you moved to another state. You have to prove it. And I read the story. I thought to myself, wait a minute. So my dad just passed 4 months ago. When he passed, we had to have a death certificate made via the state of Minnesota. And you could either order how many originals, because some people only take originals, can't take copies of such things. So the state has it. They know he passed. Are we saying that the second that gets made, it's not sent over to Steve Simon and my dad's taken off the voter rolls? Is that not the system? How great would that be?
Not the system. It's a pretty Mickey Mouse system we have in Minnesota, I would
say. Are you sure? Is he saying I would have to get an extra original copy from the state of Minnesota saying my dad passed, and then I would have to send it to Steve Simon and say, hey, take dad off the rolls? People are one more step.
It's one more step. And the fact is that system already went into the state of Minnesota. There's a death certificate. So then who's not doing their job to begin with is the question. If that system's not in place, then why? That's the most fundamental in-out data system that data entry you could do.
And they do that. The federal government, Minnesota, they stopped sending checks to dad. They, in fact, because they pay ahead, he owed 2 weeks because he lived too long. Anyway, they know that stuff when it comes to the money, but they don't want to worry about it when it comes to voting. Strange to me. And this moving thing, of all the things you do when you move out of state into another state, is that you think, I got to think, I'm not going to vote in 4 years. I should write Steve Simon a letter and let him know I'm not going to be here. That makes no sense. How is it not that if Al moved to Iowa, me and my wife, then I sign up to vote in Iowa, that doesn't send a note to Steve and say, oh, by the way, Al's voting in Iowa now. Take him off. How is this not automatic in 2025?
We're such a mobile society where people work everywhere. They can work from home remotely. So to me, it would be and I would suspect that most states have pretty common sense intake when you go to register to vote. Show me your utility bill, show me your rent bill. We have systems in place for all of that. So you're not calling the previous state you left, you're doing it at the state. And if Minnesota's not doing all those steps, then that is, again, another question on our integrity with voting to prove that, you live where you live and you are who you are and you are not on another roll in another state.
We got to get the phone companies involved. This is the answer. I'm going to tell you. So the phone, I live 8 miles from Iowa that use this, and I have friends who want to gamble on their phone thingies, you know. They got to drive 8 miles south. All of a sudden, the phone company knows when they hook up there that they're okay and they can do whatever FanDuel thing they do. The phone companies know exactly where you're at. Guess what?
So maybe we should just transfer all of that to them, because and they'll serve you algorithms to make whatever you're searching for and looking at in your phone. They're going to get it. So they might be like, "Hey, it's time to go make sure you vote. Go to your voter."
Maybe we got to give up. I say that sarcastically. I don't want them to have it, but it's true. One last thing, if we can, and it's touchy. Everybody gets worried about it. The trans in sports deal, it comes today, as I understand it, the date for it. Trump's people said, hey, Minnesota, you will start losing funding in the Department of Education for the state of Minnesota if you don't start following Title IX, which has been the law of the land since 78 or some crazy number like that. Minnesota, and I wrote down, State Solicitor General sent an email or a letter back to them saying, there's a lack of clarity on this because of the government shutdown, so we're just going to pause until you get the government back up and running. What? There's no missing clarity here.
No.
Women in women's sports, men in men's sports, that's what one side wants. The other side would rather that not be. And if you go with the other side, you will lose federal funding. Is it that clear? It's that clear, isn't it?
I think it's crystal clear, and it's a bunch of shenanigans being played right now of, the federal government is in a shutdown right now, so we're not going to do anything because we're just in a state of confusion. There's no state of confusion. And actually, if the governor does call a special session, there's a bill ready to go, House File 1123 to clean up the Minnesota Human Rights Act. And I authored that bill, which would clarify and solidify that Title IX is honored as it was intended to be 50 years ago.
And when you say clean up that bill, what you're talking about is in 2023, they put not just race, ethnicity, and gender, but they put gender identity in that bill so that you could then be any gender you wanted. It would kind of get rid of the whole gender thing, man and woman. It got rid of that by putting gender identity down. That's what you would clean up?
Right. The Minnesota State High School League is following that Minnesota Human Rights Act, and that's why they're saying their hands are tied, that the legislative session, which is all of us, has to meet to fix that language so that it is in line with the federal government. So is there anything that
Tim Walz can do? Can he talk to his Minnesota Department of Education and say, we're going to pen this for now so we don't lose the money? Are you saying that they are actually tracked with that until you all get back in session?
Absolutely. I mean, the governor has the authority. The commissioners are all under him to start getting this ball rolling. I mean, I signed a brief that's going to the Supreme Court with 206 other state legislators from various areas and 38 policy divisions. The brief it's at the Supreme Court now. So I suspect the Supreme Court's going to make a decision on this at some point, and hopefully sooner than later. To just
Are you talking Minnesota Supreme or the Supremes?
Supreme.
Okay.
Supreme. I think it's going to end up there, and it is there. And I think the conversation is going to be directed there to find some solutions. What are the solutions moving forward for the country on this topic? And not addressing it is a bigger problem, and not going to ensure that Title IX, the intent of Title IX, is going to be followed through for fairness and girls'
When you
sports.
say not addressing it, has the governor come out and said where he stands on this? Has the governor said, I want Title IX to be enforced the way we've had it for ladies for the last 40 years?
No, he's been supporting it as exactly it's happening right now with trans athletes. Absolutely.
Right. Well, this all comes to a head today, so I wanted to talk about it, and I thank you for taking the time to discuss it. It is interesting you have a bill that could rectify the situation, but we got to get you back in February to get that happening. Representative, thank you so very much for coming on the program. I do appreciate you. I really do.
Yeah, and have a great Monday, everybody.
I appreciate it.
Tired of one-sided media and divisive noise drowning out your conservative values? Take